I'm John Mercure. Welcome to Focus on the Falls, a district program where we will dive into some of the issues that are important each month or so to those who live, work, and play in the Menominee Falls School District. We're going to focus a lot on what happens in the district and how it impacts the community that we all live and work in. And I'm joined, as I always will be, by Corey Golla. He is the Menominee Falls School Superintendent. Corey, thank you so much for spending some time with
Yeah,
us.
thanks, John.
How's the school year going? Unlike any other school year.
It's unique, but we're proud of how it's going. The students are in school. They're learning. The teachers are doing their thing. We're in the hybrid model, so we have our students face to face with our teachers half of their time in school, and we feel like that's a nice balance right now between protecting the health of our students, our staff, and our community, while also meeting our obligations to students and their learning as well.
We're going to dive into what it's looking like right now in a moment, but I want to take a step back because through the course of the summer, the district, your team, teachers spent so much time getting ready for this new reality. What was that planning like? I mean, this is unlike anything any district's ever had to experience.
Yeah, a lot of thanks for asking. A lot of deep planning went into this, and we really started from where we left off in the spring and the lessons we learned through that virtual experience. Our teachers and our leaders did a remarkable job when we shut down in March. But at that point, remember, we had no idea how long was going to take, and whether it was going to be 1 week, 2 weeks, or as it turned out, the rest of the year. We got a lot of feedback from families as we asked in surveys. We really pivoted based on that and created a better virtual model, really ramped up our technology and our capabilities to live stream from classrooms to be able to allow kids when they are in a virtual environment um, to be more connected to their
Mm-hmm.
peers, more connected to their teachers. So our teachers have just done a remarkable job learning a ton, making those necessary changes, and being in a more effective model today.
I'm proud of the work that the district's done and how inclusive it's been. What were the biggest pain points that happened last spring that you immediately said, yeah, we did okay in the spring, but this is what we need to focus on to make sure we're really thriving?
Well, I think it was really ramping up that ability to have live interactions versus, teachers did a nice job learning the recording capabilities, teaching their lessons, recording them, and students could access them at home. But that really limits that personal interaction between the teacher and the students, between the students, and their peers, which is what we know they miss so much, is just that live interaction with their classmates and their friends. So that was the big learning and the big piece we wanted to improve. And I can't say enough about our tech team and their ability to see that, make the adjustments with our technology. We were already in a good place with what we had available to us, but we were able to invest even more to ramp that up. And then really the teachers taking it upon themselves to learn how to use that, create a more effective model that works better for students.
It's Focus on the Falls. Corey Gala is with us for the program. Talk about the social aspect of it because school, big part of it is being with other kids, being with your teacher, and the hybrid model kind of allows the district to address that. How important is the socialization aspect of school?
Oh, it's so important. And that is why our big goal is to maximize that face to face instruction, to even try to push the envelope more if we can. We are just now doing some analysis of surveys we've done just in the past week with our parents, our students, and our teachers. And something that just jumps out at me is the students need to connect with their friends. When they are in a virtual environment completely, they get lonely. They miss that. They miss that socialization that's so important to them. Their activities are so important to them. So our board has really pushed us wisely, I believe, to try to preserve the opportunities that we can. So we look to say yes where we can to do things safely, to keep those sports experiences alive, music, theater, all of those things are so important to kids' overall experience and their learning and development as well.
So you know better than I do that most surveying shows that a majority of parents would like their kids to be in school. They want them to be in the buildings learning that way. The science sometimes says full board in that direction is not the greatest idea. How does our district weigh those two things? What parents want, what is tradition, with what the science is saying should happen right now?
We're encouraged by what our parents have said in this survey, where they're saying we look at a 5-point scale, and They are saying we trust the district is making wise decisions. So I really believe the overall majority want us to look at the numbers. They want us to look at the external numbers, what's happening around us, as well as what's happening, how it's impacting internally. But yeah, our parents really want more for their kids. They want to push that envelope even more. And sometimes we have to be in that position to say that's just not safe to do that. We work very close with our county, with the county health department. I'm in a weekly call with them and all other superintendents to learn and kind of follow those numbers and follow that guidance. But yeah, I'm not going to say that's not challenging, and we really are reaching out to families to help us. We feel confident that our model's working, that even if we bring more kids back, we feel confident that we can slow the spread within our building. The challenge is once they leave our building, we don't have control over that. So we really need the community to help us, help keep kids in masks, keep our community in masks, the social distancing, the hygiene. Those things are going to make the difference for how much face-to-face instruction can we do during the course of the school year.
So we are filming this in the library here at the high school, and as I walked to the library, it was so good to see kids in the hallway and the chatter and the laughing, and I peeked my head in classrooms and I could see teachers. How good is it to have some semblance of normal compared to how it was last spring?
Just love it. That first day with kids, our teachers were excited, our leaders were excited, I was excited. They're just so incredibly resilient. And yeah, as you walk around, you see the masks are not a big deal to the kids anymore. They just do that. And we didn't know how they'd respond. The high school, we're not seeing fights at all at the high school or the middle school. The kids get it. What we heard from them is we want to be in school. And if this is what it takes to be in school, we're going to do it. So that inspires us to protect those opportunities, expand them where we can.
So you just hit on what you're hearing from students. I know families are excited with how things are working out. How are your teachers doing?
But this is a heavy lift for teachers. They're excited to have kids in their classroom. The hybrid model in particular is taxing on teachers. You are really, you're simultaneously teaching to the students who are right in front of you and those who are on that screen. You really have to plan for both groups because there's times where you'll get that mini lesson done and you're shutting that camera off, and you have to have those students have to have something they should be doing to continue their learning. So that's a heavy lift. And then their own personal risk for themselves and their family is a heavy weight. We all bear that, but I have to remind people, we are the largest social gathering in Menominee Falls each day here at the high school, even in hybrid. We've got hundreds of kids in this building interacting with their teachers, with one another. So the teachers are acutely aware of that risk also. So, they're feeling that burden, and we've got to continue to support them. We've always known staffing is going to be one of the biggest challenges through all of this.
You're right, it's a heavy lift. Do you also feel that it's reinvigorating for some of your staff? I mean, they're having to do things they've never had to do before. They've had to relearn processes. They've had to really step up. I know it's a lot of work. Is it also in some ways re-energizing for some?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they'll openly say this. They've learned things that will stay with them forever. I mean, it's the field of education has changed forever of how we can use technology, how we can engage kids in different situations. It's, also what they've known is their expertise hasn't been thrown out the window. This is still, whether you are in a hybrid model, a virtual model, or face-to-face, it's still about relationships. It's still about engaging kids, bringing joy into your classroom. They realize as they get into this that those things still matter most, whether I'm doing it on a screen or whether I'm doing it in face-to-face instruction. But yeah, our teachers inspire me every day. They're digging in, and they do love having their kids in their classroom, and they push us also to bring those kids back.
I know you envision that eventually kids, if the numbers and science says it's okay, kids will come back more fully into the classroom. How's the evaluation process go when it comes to that? Are you looking days out, weeks out? Who are you consulting? How are those decisions made?
We consult obviously with Waukesha County Health Department. We look at those external numbers, which we know right now as we're filming this have been pretty challenged. But we're also looking very much internally at what is the actual impact on students and staff inside. So we balance those, and what's been particularly challenging is we have had success internally, despite what's happening outside. So how do we make sense of that, and do we push a bit more, which we do intend to try to continue pushing where we can. So it's, we try to give families that heads up of that we're thinking about a change, but we learned last Friday we've got to be prepared to make a pivot pretty quickly if circumstances suggest that's the best approach.
So let's talk about that for a second. The hybrid model is in effect. There was a plan to bring the youngest students back into the classroom full time. A decision was made to delay that a little bit. Talk through that. What went into that decision and where are we at with that?
Yeah, boy, that was a tough one because we knew that was going to be a hardship for families to make a change of plans on a Friday afternoon when they already had their plans for the next week. What we had been seeing, as I had said, was the external numbers were obviously challenged, but we had been able to confidently say internally we're just not seeing that same level of concern. Um, but we saw on Friday in particular, we suddenly had a couple of cases hit the school, and we were doing a lot of contact tracing. It ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 students in one school and two classrooms, and it was one of those schools we were targeting to reopen. When we made the decision, we just still didn't have all of the tracing completed. We didn't know the scope of what we were dealing with. And honestly, it was the first time we as a district had been through contact tracing at that scale. So we just said it's just not the prudent thing to make the move right now, given these unknowns, and they were specific to elementary. So it was a great lesson. We've able to even refine how we do our tracing to do that more rapidly. But I believe it was the right decision to make, given all of the unknowns that we had at that moment.
This is Focus on the Falls with Superintendent Corey Golla. Football's back, some extracurriculars are taking place. How important is it that that part of the learning experience, the student experience, move forward?
Well, yeah, it's, I think, very important. Those activities, and we've talked about them before, they're integral to kids' learning. How do they work with teams? How do they collaborate with one another? They're also passion points for kids. And at this point, anything that we can do to give kids some normalcy and some routine. You think about this, our seniors this year, they lost their spring seasons. So whatever we can do for them, we want to do for them. And can't say enough about coaches and advisors working close with our school nurses, our county, to say how can we try to do this safely. So we like to start from that position of yes and try it first. And we've had some significant success doing that.
Next steps, when you think about where we are likely to go, and I know it's like looking into a crystal ball, what are some of the things, what are some of the parameters and guidelines the district uses in evaluating next steps?
We'll continue to look very closely at what's happening internally, and that's, and we're actually refining how we measure and what we look at to get it down to the building level. And we do believe if there's a place we can push, it's those youngest learners. Still across the county, we see the lowest numbers of infection rates of COVID in those youngest learners, and those buildings seem prepared to make that move, so we'll watch that close. We're also going to have to prepare ourselves in our community that we may have to make these decisions school by school, level by level. We would have liked to try to move more together. That's going to be increasingly difficult to do. The other piece that I want to continue to look closely at is what's happening with our other school districts. We are all running our own tests where many of us are in different models and trying to see what's the level of activity and impact and disruption to their buildings. Some are full face-to-face, but they're also seeing very high levels of quarantine. That means students are out of the classroom for 14 days. How does that impact their learning? How does that impact our buildings?
There's no statewide mandate on what schools should do. It's local control.
Yep.
Is there a collaboration with Elmbrook and Sussex Hamilton, or maybe collaboration isn't the right word? Are there ongoing discussions? Do you talk to your peers about how things are going?
Absolutely. We're at our Wednesday meeting with the county health department. Paul Farrow has been outstanding. He's given his own time. He's in those meetings on Wednesdays. He's put significant people from his staff in those meetings, and all superintendents are in those. This has been going on very formally since the summer, going all the way back even to spring. We were meeting with our old snow call chain group. And so trying to decide together, build our metric models together, and then there's just a lot of informal conversations also of what's happening in your schools, how does that impact, how are you responding. So we've never been in a better place in terms of our collaboration across the county. We feel like this is a model for the rest of the country of how this can be done.
I know I saw it when I walked in the building today, and when I've talked to people in the district, the CDC guidelines are front and center, and those have kind of changed and morphed and evolved, and you're making sure that your staff, students, people who enter the buildings are following all those guidelines. That's critical to being able to move forward, isn't it?
Yeah, we want it to be a place where people walked in and their immediate thought was they've got this. We want that confidence, and then we want that to have roots, that it's real. And as you walk through the building or you talk to our students or our teachers, that they feel confident that we're serious about the mitigation efforts. And we feel like we're seeing results from that, that we're just not seeing that spread from within. So we're very proud of that. And if we're able to move to a more robust face-to-face model, it's because we're being so diligent with those mitigation efforts.
And to that point, talk about the air filtration system. This is something new for the district, the improvement there.
Yeah, we've had state-of-the-art filtration systems, air handling units since our referendum passed. Our community's invested heavily in really having outstanding systems already. So our ventilation is good. What this is going to allow us to do is put additions in every building that will actually, it's bipolar ionization, which it actually takes the air and really attacks any virus, molds, things that just cause respiratory problems or infections among students. Kills it, drops it down, and then our cleaning takes that away. So it will dramatically improve the air quality in all of our buildings. And this is not just a COVID investment. This is going to help us with flu season. It's going to help us with mold, mildew. We have a lot of students and staff with asthma issues. It's going to really enhance that. So we're excited that we're able to do that. I think the board was very wise to make that investment. There's no cost to the taxpayer because we're using funds that were saved during the shutdown last spring and really just rolling those and reinvesting them in our facilities.
It's the constant evaluation of what's best for the students, what's best for teachers, what's best for our community. It's what's happening on a daily basis here in Menominee Falls. It is Focus on the Falls with Corey Golla. Corey, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for the time.